Vice President Joe Biden has elected not to run for president. That announcement coming less than 24 hours before Hillary Clinton testifies in front of the Select Committee on Benghazi. We want to bring in Fox Digital Politics editor Chris Stirewalt, the host of Power Play on FoxNews.com. Chris, good to see you.
Good morning.
Why would the vice president rule out running in a race he was already competing in?
Well, because he couldn't win it, and he wasn't going to get there. Polling had consistently demonstrated that not only were Democrats not interested, or not enough Democrats were interested in his candidacy, but that they tired. There was great Biden fatigue already showing itself in polls. He couldn't get there. But on his way out the door, he said, if you need me, just call. If you need me, I'll be over here. If Hillary Clinton's email coughs up something it ought not have coughed up, he made it very plain that he'd be ready to serve.
Yeah, that's funny. You know, it's interesting that, you know, he came out yesterday to say, no, I'm not going to be running. He probably didn't want to do it after the Benghazi testimony, because that would lead to people connecting the dots about how he felt she did in the testimony.
Right, and he needed a gap. He needed a place where he could get down and it would be his own news day. He couldn't do it after the Democratic debate, so this was the one gap in the news cycle where he could get out and try to say it was his own day and he wasn't being forced out.
Here's John Bussey from the Journal.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, this really was for real. I mean, he deliberated over this. He was legitimately interested in it. I think that if the public thinks, well, was this just kind of political theater, you know, up until the end of last week and over the weekend, he was still calling supporters and saying, well, I'm thinking about it. I want to know, would the funding be there? Would the structure be there? And at the end of the day, I mean, the Wall Street Journal's reporting on this morning, he was weighing family ability to deal with the rigors of a campaign and whether or not I can actually make it happen. And he decided he couldn't. This wasn't theater. This was a guy making an extended decision. Is that how you read it?
Well, the two aren't mutually exclusive. Joe Biden's been running for president off and on since 1987, so he is familiar with the theatrics surrounding how you run or how you don't run. Do I believe, and you're certainly, the Journal's reporting on this is spot on, which is people really didn't know, and there were really high-stakes negotiations at the end, and people were absolutely cliffhanging on this. Whether or not Joe Biden really thought he was going to do this up until the end, we don't know, because they held it very closely.
Yeah. That's got to be maybe the biggest story out of all this, is that this was a story in the fishbowl of Washington, which leaks all the time. Nobody knew what he was going to until he got in front of that podium.
That is really interesting, actually. Kevin, did you have a question?
Yeah, my question is, does this have to do more with his legacy as opposed to wanting to take on and be president? I mean, one of the things we've seen is that he ran twice before, unsuccessful. Does this have to do with Obama's legacy and his legacy in not running?
Well, let me try to put it in terms that you all would appreciate, which is this is Joe Biden running up the price of his IPO. If he would have said a year ago that he wasn't running for president, people would have said, well, you and 310 million other people, Joe, you got no shot. What are you talking about? In the act of talking about his candidacy, getting people to pay homage to him and do all of these things, yes, it has something to do with Barack Obama's post-presidency and his legacy and Biden as a fierce protector of it, but it also has to do with who Joe Biden is going forward now.
I think that's
and
a
what
great
role
analysis.
he plays.
Yeah, that's a great point, because he just improved his brand, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Sandra, I want to turn on to the testimony on Benghazi here. Get your thoughts on that, and then have Chris weigh in. Any bombshells that you're expecting today? Earlier, you said you don't think we're going to learn anything.
Yeah, well, no, we hope we do, because we still don't know so much. But Chris, I just wonder if the right questions are going to be asked today as we do await that testimony from Hillary Clinton. Do you expect anything groundbreaking today?
I expect this to be very lawyerly. I expect this to be conducted in a prosecutorial manner. How much Trey Gowdy allows the other Republicans on the panel to talk, how many questions they get. It has been suggested by some that he might really play the role of the interrogator. He might really just do this himself, much like they had Fred Thompson do in the Watergate hearings. It was just him as a staff attorney doing the questioning, and it was very low key. So the goal for the Republicans is get some information, can get her on the record on some things, maybe surprise her on a couple of things, but no drama.
Yeah.
They're not looking to create rocks and rolls.
You almost feel like he has to, given what's gone on about the committee because of the Kevin McCarthy comments. He's got to be there legitimizing. He's got to be there showing leadership. So we'll see how that plays out. Now we've got to talk about Congressman Paul Ryan. Is this a done deal, you think, Chris? Where do you stand on this?
Well, I think it is very close to a done deal now, and I think that Ryan very successfully negotiated this with the Freedom Caucus members, that he went to them and got buy-in enough that he can proceed. Yes, they will be restive. Yes, they will continue to be holdouts. Yes, it will not be easy, but he got from them what he needed, which is buy-in enough so that he can have a minute of a honeymoon as a speaker, so that he might actually be able to get some forward progress.
Yes, certainly more than John Boehner had. Real quick, earlier John Bussey said this is a major positive for the GOP. John, explain the point.
Well, I'm just wondering, Chris, your thoughts on this. You know, here you have a powerful committee chairman, a sort of veteran of the House, somebody who has been part of a national campaign already, ran for vice president. He sort of has his chops, and that this gives a tailwind to the Republican campaign, because they're going to have somebody running the House who's powerful and capable.
Well, we'll see if he's any daggone good. What they have right now, the greatest advantage that the Republicans would get out of a Ryan speakership right now is the avoidance of calamity. The biggest thing that they would get out of this is the removal of a negative, which would be an absolute civil war and bloodletting in the House GOP. So that is the first positive. We'll see how he does henceforth.
Because you know that a policy wonk like Paul Ryan is not going to allow the government to shut down, is not going to allow the debt ceiling to go berserk, and is going to make sure that, in fact, we're focused on economic issues.
That's important, yeah.
You got it.
Chris, good to talk with you. Thank you so much.
You bet. Have a great day.
Chris Stirewalt there, Fox Business.